Hello everyone, welcome to Ghana ICT Club Code with Kwaku. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. And if you've already subscribed, thanks for showing up. Okay, in this episode of Code with Kwaku, we are going to develop a sample Google homepage or a prototype of Google homepage. So I've downloaded the Google icon or Google picture. Okay, in this episode of Code with Kwaku, we are going to design a prototype of Google's homepage or Google search homepage. So this is my Google logo that I downloaded from the net. So quickly, I'm going to create the index file. So if you are using VS Code, just click on this icon, new file. Name it as index.html. Then I'll create my style sheet as well. So style.css. All right. So back to my index page. In Visual Code, you just press on the exclamation sign and tab key to insert this HTML structure for you. So you change the heading to Google or Google search. Okay. Then you come straight inside the body. So first of all, we will wrap all the content in a container or in a class, in a div class of container. So I'll just type div.container, then I press the tab key. This is only possible in VS Code. You can't do it in, I don't know of other code editors, but this shortcut is possible in VS Code. Okay, so inside the container, I'll create my header. So you can just type square brackets header, then VS Code will complete the code for you. So inside the header, that is where I'll create my navigation. Okay, so to create the navigation, I'll use the nav tag, and inside the nav tag, I'll create my UL. That's unlisted items. Then I create my listed or the list. So the list, we will only create a reference to Gmail, but I'll put # as the link, then followed by Gmail. All right, I'll just copy this, paste on the next line, then change Gmail to images. Okay, so this is all that we want. Let me save and refresh the page. Okay, index.this. Okay, so when we refresh the page, this is what we will get: Gmail and images. Okay, so we are done with our menu. So now let's create the logo. So the logo will be outside the nav bar. So I'll just move out of the header. Let me implement comment. Okay, header starts, or menu bar, header or menu starts, menu bar starts, then it ends here, end. Then I start the logo. Okay, so I'll wrap the logo also in a div, and I'll name the div class as logo. All right, so logo starts and ends here. End. Logo starts. Okay, so to create a logo, I'll just call my image tag followed by the source. Then I just call the Google PNG. I give it an alternative name of Google logo. Very simple. Let me save and let's look at its effect. Okay, so this is the logo. All right, so after creating the logo, we can now create our form. So just after the logo, search form. So the search form will start from here, and the form will be wrapped in a div as well. So div class search box, or search form. Let me make it search form. Okay, so inside the div search form, we will now create our form. So I just bring the form tag, and the action will be https://www.google.com/search. So by this, all that I mean is when somebody type a word in our search box, it should automatically load Google's main page and search for the word, and the method will be get. We are not posting into a database, so we will use the get method, and the get method will post whatever that we typed inside the address bar of the browser. Okay, so now that we have our form tag, let's quickly create the search field. So to do that, we will wrap it in a div class of search box. Okay, we will give it a class of search box. Then inside the search box, we will create the input of type is text. Then we give it a name equal to kill. So kill is the name of this Google's main search form. So by this, when we type a word and click on search, automatically it will use that name kill to go and search from Google's main page. Okay, so let's create the search button. Let me create an indent here so that the code will look clean. All right, so to create the search button, I'll also wrap it in a div called button with a class button. Okay, so input type is submit. Then we give it a class of class equal to btn dash search. Then we give it a value of Google search, and also let's give it a name of submit. Okay, then you see that Google has two buttons, so we have to create the next button. And to do that, I'll just copy this, put it on the same line, so make sure that you take note of this. Then I'll give it a class name of button text. Then the value is I feel I am feeling lucky. Save it and let's check the effect now. Okay, so this is what we have now. Then when we are done with the button, just before the form opening and closing tag, let's create our P which says Google offered in, you bring your colon, then you create a span. So I'll create a span Hausa. No, let me create a link first, ahref, because it's wrapped in a link. Hausa. So this pound sign simply means that it will load in the same page, but we can provide a link. Maybe we may have hausa.com, but since we don't have any link, that's why I'm using the pound sign. So when you click on the link, it will not load to any page. All right, then let me create another span again, but before that, let me bring this code NBSP. By this, all that I mean is it should just create a space between the first and the second span. Let me arrange it this way so that it will look a bit clearer. Okay, so I will need to bring this. So this code NBSP creates spaces between the text. All right, and let me copy this span again, paste it here. So we have Hausa, Akan, Eve, and NBSP and GAN. Let me save it. So this is how our code will look like now. Let me save it and refresh. So we'll get something like this. Okay, so the NBSP code created these spaces. All right, so that's the function of it. So this is what we have now. Then finally, let's move out of the container div and create a footer. And Google page has two footers. So the first footer has a P, and it's called the text on the P or in the P is Ghana. Let me copy this again. That's the second footer. It also has a P and some text. So that text too uses, I'll use span for that text. All right. Okay, so the first is about. And the second is advertising. Advertising. And the third is business. And the last one is how search works. Let me save and look at its effects. Okay, so about, advertising, business, how search works. So there's what we will get now. Okay, so they are all links, and the space, let me create more spaces inside the links. So I can just duplicate this to create more spaces. So this code only creates spaces between text. Okay, let me add one more. Okay, so now I think it's okay. Right, so we are done with the HTML part of Google page. So let's quickly style it to look nice. So let's move to our style sheet, but before that, let me link the style sheet in the head element of our HTML page. So to do that, you just type link, then you call the file or the page, the file name, which is style.css. Very simple. Without this link, your CSS styling will not be applied to the page. So after linking it, you go to your style page, then we reset the page. So this button is for reset, and reset will help the browser, or will not let the browser automatically add styling to your page. So margin, we want all margins to be 0, paddings to be 0. Okay, then we don't want any borders, so border to none. All right, so when I save and refresh, you see that the content will move to the extreme edges of the browser. Okay, so now we can style it in our own way. So first of all, let me target or style the body. So with the body, I want the font family to be Arial and sans serif. Okay, let me save and refresh. Right, then after I call my container class, that's the container that I wrapped my content in, and I want a margin of 10 pixels. That's create a margin around that container and the browser by 10 pixels. So this is 10 pixel up, left, bottom and right. Okay, then I call my header. I'm calling the header directly. It's not a class, it's an element or a tag, so I don't need to bring a period. You only bring period if you are calling a class. So header, I want my header height to be 80 pixels. Then I want its width to be 100%. Then I want padding top to be 10 pixels. Let me save and refresh. Okay, so this is how it will look like. Let me give it a background color. Background color of let me give it a border bottom. Border bottom of say 1 pixel. Solid. Let's use this color F1. This is the hex code. Okay. So I think 80 pixel is too much. So let me reduce it a bit. Okay, you don't worry. Let's leave it there. We don't even need the border. Let me just clear the border. Okay, so after styling the header, let's style the nav. So we call the nav tag, and we want to float the content to the right hand side. That is how, or we want to float the menu, that is the Google and images, to the right hand side. Then we want to give it a padding right of 50 pixel. Let's check its effect. Alright, so it will float this to the right hand side, and it will give it a padding to the right of 50 pixel. Then if you remember, we gave the header a padding of 10 pixel to the top. So there is that 10 pixel. That's we are moving the menu from the top part of the header by 10 pixels. Okay. Right. So now let's style our ULLI. That's on ordered list. So we want to float to the left, float left. After floating to the left, we give it a margin right, of 20 pixels. Then we give it a font size of 14 pixels. Then we give it a list style type of none. List style type. That is, we don't want any bullets like this bullets. We don't want it. So the list style property, setting it to none, will remove these. Okay. So this is the effect that we have now. Very beautiful. All right. Then let's style our A. A simply means anchor. So the A, okay. So we call the A tag and give it a color of hex code 5B, 5B, 5E. That's the font color that we want for the A's. Then text decoration. We don't want any underline, so text decoration of none. So that will remove the underline that you see here, or the line below the text. Let me refresh. Okay, so now you see that the color has changed and the underline is removed. Okay, so now let's style the logo. So we gave the logo a class of logo, and we want it to be aligned in the center. So text align center. That will push the logo to the center. Then we want a margin top of 20 pixels. Let's save and see the effect. Right. Okay. Then we also want to move our, let me check this. Okay, so this Google offer, we want to move them to the center. So let's give it a class of, say, offer. All right, so let me call that class dot offer and align the text at the center as well. Let's see its effect. Okay, now let's style our search form. So dot search dash form. So this is the search, the main search form. Okay, so this is what we are styling now. So search dash form. All that we want to do here is give it a margin left. That is, push it from the left hand side by 390 pixels. Let's save and look at its effect. Okay, we will come back to this. Let's just go to the input type. So input type equal to text. That is, we are styling where we will type our word to search. So we give it a width of, say, 60%. Then we give it a height of, say, 44 pixels. Okay, then we give it a back color of white. So hex code for white is star FFF. Then we give it a border of 1 pixel solid with a hex color code of DFE1EF. Okay, let's check the effect. Okay, so this is how our text box is looking now. All right, then let's give it a box shadow. Box shadow of none. Then border radius of 4 pixels. Then we give it a margin of 0 auto. Let's check the effect now. border radius of 4 pixels is small. Let's make it 40 because it has round edges. Let's delete this. We want it to move from the left hand side by a margin of, say, 300 pixels. Let's check how it will look like. Okay, it seems the width is too much, so let me reduce it to about 40%. Okay, I think 40% is okay. So let's make the width 400 pixels. That will push the form from the left hand side by 400 pixels. Okay, so I think this is fine, and let's give it a padding left. Padding left, that is inside the form. We want to give it a padding left of 20 pixels inside the form. So when I click on it, you see that it will start, the text will start from here. So you create a gap of 40 pixels. Okay, so now let's style our button. So first of all, let's call the button class. There is the button class. Okay, so we want to give our button a margin left of 140 pixels. Thus, we are moving the button from the left side by 140 pixels. Then we give it a margin top of 20 pixels. Okay, let's run and see its effect. .140 pixels is small, so let's give it about, let's say, 400. Is still small, so let's give it 600. Okay, so now it's centered at the middle. Then let's give it a margin bottom of 20 pixels. Okay, all right, there is the effect. Now let's style the main button. So we give the button a class of btn search and btn text. So we will call both btn search and btn text, because both of them will have similar styling, so we can call both. Then we give it a background color of F8, F9, FE. Then a border border of 1 pixel solid, then a color of F8, the same F8, F9, FA. Okay, and a border radius of 4 pixels. Let me make it 5 pixels. Then a font size of 14 pixel. Then a padding of 0 pixels top and bottom, then 16 pixels left and right. Then a margin of, no, we will not give it a margin because we've already taken care of the margin. Then a height of 36 pixels, a width of, let's give it minimum width of 54 pixels. Then we want to align the text, align center. Then finally we give it a cursor property. So cursor is pointer. That is when you hover the cursor over the button, it should turn to a hand. Okay, like so. The color of the button is very faint, but I believe we can see it. Let's increase the background color. Let's change it. Let's choose somewhere around this color. Okay, because it's not that visible. Right, no, this is too, it's supposed to be a bit light, so I think here will do. Okay, so this is okay, but it seems it has moved to the right hand side too much, so let's change the margin left. Let's change it to about 500 pixels. $500 is also not good. So basically you can play around with the pixels to get a correct pixel or a correct number. So I think this is okay, but then the color of the button is too deep. We can still reduce it a bit. Let me reduce it. Okay, right. So now this is okay, this color is okay. All right. Okay, so let's style the footer, and we have two footers in our page. Okay, so let's give the footer class names so that we can style each of them differently. So class name of footer 1, footer -1. Then we give the second one a class of footer -2. All right, so footer dot footer -1. We want to give it a background color of F1, 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 F1. Then we give it a height of say 50 pixels. Then a padding of 10 pixels. Okay, let's save and see its effect. It seems 50 pixels is too much, so 40 pixels. Then a width, let me give it a width of 100%, because we want it to cover the entire page. We don't want the footer in the container class, so I'll cut this and bring it here. Okay, we don't want the footer to be in the container div. Okay, so now let me refresh the page again. Okay, so you see that the gap is gone. Let's style footer 2. So footer 2, I'll just do copy and paste and change this to 2. All right, then we give the second footer a border top of 1 pixel, solid F2, F2, F2. Let me save and refresh. Okay, it's not visible, so let me make it a bit deeper. Okay, like this. Let me save and refresh once again. Okay, that's good. So now we have to push this to the bottom. So to do that, we need to come to, okay, let's use footer 1. So margin top of, say, we want a margin top of 250 pixel. Let's look at its effect. Oh, 250 is too much. Let's make it 150. So you can play around with the margin to get what is okay for you. Even 150. Let's make it 180. Okay, so this is okay. Okay, so now that we are done with the styling of the footer, let's compare our page. This is what we have now. Let's compare it to the original Google's main page. Okay, so we can correct the height and change this text to blue, because in our own is ash or gray. So let's change it to blue and reduce the height a little. Okay, so to do that, let's reduce the height to 30 pixels. 30 pixels. Let me refresh. 30 pixels. And let's make the margin top, let's make it 185 because we don't want a gap below our page. 185 is small, so let's make it 190. This controls the gap below our footer. Okay, so I think this okay, and let's change these to blue colors. So to do that, we will use an inline styling method. So go to your HTML, and inside the list, just click here, hold the Alt key and select all. Press the space bar, then type style equal to color blue. Okay, so in VS Code you can hold Alt key to select multiple lines. Right, so let me save this and refresh the page. Okay, so now our text is in blue color, and it seems, let me check again if we have some corrections to make. Okay, so basically this is just a simple prototype of Google's homepage. So let's try our search button by typing graphics search. Okay, so you see it has loaded Google's homepage. Right, I think we are done. So see you in the next lecture. Thanks for watching, and please do well to subscribe to this channel. Bye.